Okay, well, okay. So, I have no idea what I'm doing, but a lot of you, well, there's like 10 of you. Some of you, like 2 of you, have told me a lot that I need to make a full-length video because, like, I haven't, like, done anything. They're like, your channel's burnt. Anyways, which, like, whatever, like, I just thought it'd be fun to, like, put videos on YouTube, like, what the heck. Anyways, so I'm making a full-length video. I don't know, like, what to talk about. So I'm just gonna, like, rant about this movie that I watched yesterday called 4 Weddings and a Funeral. And lots of spoilers. So if you're interested in watching the movie, which, like, you shouldn't be, this video is not for you. But if you don't care or you've already seen it, good. Because I'm just gonna rant about it. Like, quick summary of the movie before I rant on it. It follows the story of Charles, who's played by Hugh Grant, Hugh Grant was cute. Like, he was very cute in the 90s. Oh, and this movie's, like, from the 90s too, and it's, like, a British movie too, if you didn't know that. There you go. He had this, like, hair thing going on, and he kept, like, and it was so cute. And he had glasses. I was like, wow, Hugh Grant was cute. There's a lot of people that were cute when they were younger. Man. Anyways, so yeah, so follows the story of Charles, and he's single, and he follows his life through 3 weddings and a funeral, or 4 weddings and a funeral. Anyway, so, like, long story short, like, he goes to a wedding, he meets this girl, she's from America, her name's Carrie, they sleep together, then she goes back to America, and then it cuts to 3 months later where it's the 2nd wedding, and he sees her again, and they sleep together, and then she's like, oh, by the way, I'm engaged to this guy who's 3 times my age, and we're getting married, and he's like, what the heck, woman? Which I will rant about in a minute. And then, oh my gosh, I got so, like, worked up, I forgot where I was. So, and then it, like, you know, stuff happens, cuts to her wedding, which is really awkward, but he's still there because he's still in love with her. And then, like, and then one of his friends ends up having a heart attack and dying, and so then that's the funeral, and she's at the funeral, and he's all like with her husband, and everyone's sad. And then it cuts to, like, 10 months later for the 4th wedding. I'm, like, skipping a lot of steps. I will complain about a lot of steps, but this is just, like, the basic, like, timeline. 10 months later, it's Charles' wedding. Charles said he would never get married. He was never in a serious relationship, but boom, he's getting married, and you're like, oh my gosh, who is he getting married to? Spoiler, he gets married to this random girl that he used to date, and you're like, what the heck? I don't even remember her name. They called her Duckface in the movie, so she's getting married to, like, Duckface or whatever. Anyway, and, like, what the heck? And he's getting married, and then Carrie shows up, and without her husband, and he's like, oh my gosh, like, where's your husband? And she's like, oh, I divorced him. Like, why didn't she call him? Like, what the heck? She had no idea he was getting married until, like, what the heck? And he's like, oh my gosh, like, my one true love, who I professed my love to, and she was engaged, is divorced, and you're letting me get married to this other girl? Like, what the heck? And so he has this, like, huge crisis, and his brother, like, but he's still gonna go through with the wedding, but then his brother's, like, when they're like, speak now, forever hold your peace, his brother, who's deaf, so he's, like, speaks in sign language, which I didn't know, so I'm not gonna, like, do because that's offensive. Anyways, his brother, like, stops wedding with sign language or whatever, and it's like, oh my gosh, and it's, like, so good, but, like, it's really bad because, like, the girl's upset, and so, like, there's all this drama, and he's, like, crying, and then Carrie knocks on the door in the rain, and she's like, she doesn't even profess her love to him, though. Like, it's so messed up. Like, I have a huge problem with her character, like, a huge problem, which I will get into. Let me finish telling about the movie. Anyway, so basically, like, she knocks on the door, and he professes his love to her again, and you know, he's like, she's like, you know, like, she doesn't want to get married or whatever. He's like, will you not marry me and spend the rest of your life with me? And she's like, I will. And, like, they live happily ever after or whatever. But, like, okay, so it's, like, basically the story of the movie, right? Okay. But, like, I don't like this Carrie character, okay? Like, I do not like this Carrie character, and I do not like the way that the movie wrote all of his love interests, and then, like, there was no closure, okay? Like, first of all, good parts of the movie, it was really, really funny, okay? Like, it was, like, laugh out loud for like several minutes, just constant laugh, 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 laugh. Like, it was really, really funny. And so obviously it's not the type of movie that's gonna have like a deep storyline, right, when that's gonna move you. But like, as a person who watches a lot of rom-coms, like, and I watch some stupid, super cheesy, like really, really fluffy, like super, super stupid rom-coms, right? But you need to have a basic storyline that makes sense, that makes you want, like, you need to want to root for the main characters. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, even if they're like an anti-hero or whatever, or a villain, you know, like if they're the main character, like you need to like root for them, you know what I'm saying? And Carrie is just a bad person. Like what the heck are they doing with her? Like, is it because she's American? What the heck? Like, first of all, at the beginning of the movie, Charles like sees her at the wedding and like love at first sight or whatever. And he's talking with one of his, so like he's part of like this friend group or whatever, so he lives with one of his friends, Scarlett, but they're not dating or anything, and they're not siblings, which, okay, also the movie doesn't like explain that very well, and so it's like, are you dating, are you siblings, are you just friends, whatever. But like, when I read the plot, it said, oh, they're just friends and they're just roommates, and I'm like, okay, cool. And so they're part of this friend group, and then this guy Matthew and this guy, I don't remember his name, but he's older and he had like a beard and he was a little like more sturdy, like anyway, they lived together, and like they were very unclear about it in the movie, but when I read the plot summary, it made a lot more sense than what the movie was trying to tell us. Basically, they were partners, right? So they were like basically married, but like this is the 90s, so like they weren't actually married. Anyway, but they were like partners, and then but again, the movie never really like specified, and so we were like, what the heck are we doing here? And so yeah, basically they were partners. And then so there's the friend group, and then Tom, I think is his name, and Fiona are brother and sister, and they live together, which again the movie doesn't really like specify. They just live together, and you're like, are you dating, are you siblings, are you friends, what the heck's going on? They're siblings. So anyway, that's their little like friend group. Oh, and then there's also this guy who's like super wealthy. He's like one of the top wealthiest people in Britain, just randomly. He's a friend. And he's really like, he's like a really shy, sweet little guy, and he's very awkward, and anyway, but he's really sweet. Yeah, so like that's their friend group. So basically, like when Charles is at the wedding and he sees Carrie, and he's like love at first sight. Fiona like sees him seeing her, and she's like, oh, that's Carrie, she's American, she's like, you don't want to date her, like she only dates rich guys, and she's an S word, you know what I'm saying, and like, like you don't want to get involved in that mess because it's just gonna badly. And he's like, okay, but like, he's still like, love at first sight, you can't stop love at first sight, so he's still like a little bit like, okay, still love her. Anyway, so okay, and here's my thing. Like, she approaches him, okay? She comes up to him, like, she approaches him, and, well, because, like, he's trying to impress her, but, like, it fails, but then, like, she approaches him, and she's like, oh, that was cute, or whatever, and, like, you're still rooting for her at this point, because you're like, okay, like, you seem like a good person. I don't think you're an S-word. People tend to exaggerate or be mean, or rumors happen, like, like, whatever. And so, yeah, and so she comes up to him, and she's being really cute, and they're like, they have like a moment or whatever, and she's like, where are you staying? And he's like, I was gonna stay at this like hotel or whatever, but like, then my rich friend has like a castle that he wants us to stay at, so like I guess we're gonna be staying there, blah blah. And she's like, oh, what a shame, because I'm staying at this one little hotel. And he's like, oh, okay. Oh, and then she leaves, and you're like, what the heck, girl? Like, and so he's driving home with his friends, and everyone's drunk, and because it's after the wedding, and he's like, drop me off, I think I'm gonna stay at the hotel after all. And they're like, what the heck, dude? But everyone's like out of it, so like whatever. They drop him off, and he goes into the hotel, and he sees her in the lobby, and like he's like, they didn't have room for me after all, so I'm staying here. And she's like, that she's at his castle, and he's like, well, not really anyway. So he gets them a drink or whatever, and then this guy comes downstairs looking for this girl, which is like the first red flag also, and she like hides, and so Charles gets the message, and he's like, oh, there's no girl down here, oh, you must be silly. And the guy's like, oh, well, guess it's just me and you. And so they sit down, and they're gonna have a drink together, and then like the hotel guy's like, sir, your wife wants you to come upstairs, you know, room blah blah, in case you're too drunk to forget. And he's like, my wife? Oh. So he goes upstairs and meets this girl, and she's like, you're welcome for getting out of that situation. And he's like, thank you. And then she like very, 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 very strongly hits on him, and like he's very like awkward, and he doesn't know what to do, and he's, you know, he's very much like, you know, like you know, trying to be respectable and, you know, respectful and stuff like that, and Carrie is like hitting on him, right, like she is hitting on him. Anyway, so of course they end up sleeping together, and then it's the next morning, and then she's like, I have to go to America, bye, and then she just like goes to America. And okay, reading the plot, well, and then like later on in the movie they mention like calling each other, whatever, so like they must have exchanged information, but like they didn't tell us that at this point in the movie. So she basically, what I am seeing with my eyes, right, that she is sleeping with him and then just leaving with no information, no like, oh, I'm in love with you, I would like, you know, like, because I literally like slept with you. No, she just leaves and leaves. So he's heartbroken, but it doesn't really dwell on that. It cuts to like the next wedding or whatever, when she's there, and then she's like, she tells him that, oh, I'm here with my fiance. But like, oh my gosh, this video is being super long. I hope you don't mind a long video. He said make a full length video. Here I am making a full length video. It's gonna be like 20 minutes of just me ranting about this movie. So basically, oh my gosh, now I got distracted. This video is such a mess. This movie is such a mess too. Like, it's funny, okay? Like, would I watch it again? No. Do I regret watching it? No. Like, it was an okay movie, but it just, I hate how they made the like main love interest so bad. You know what I'm saying? Like, at least give her redeeming qualities. Like, she had no growth. She had no character development. She was the same person at the beginning of the movie as she was at the end of the movie, whereas, like, Hugh Grant's character, Charles, like, he grew. At the beginning of the movie, he was, like, against, like, marriage. He was against all of that stuff. He was, like, too scared to get into a serious relationship because he, like, did not want to get married. He didn't want to be tied down. But at the end of the movie, he realized that, anyway, he changed. She did not. So anyway, so, of course, they end up sleeping together again, even though she's like engaged. And yeah, and then we cut to like a few months later, and he gets her wedding invitation, and he's going shopping for her, and she runs into him while he's shopping for her, and she's like, oh my gosh, come with me, come dress shopping with me. And he's like, okay. So he like goes dress shopping with her. Like, dress shopping is a big deal. Like, you're just not gonna, anyway, whatever. He goes dress shopping with her. They have like a cute little moment or whatever, but like, she's freaking engaged, okay? Like, she could break this engagement. Like, she didn't have to get engaged to this old guy if she doesn't love him, whatever. Anyways, so yeah, and then like she leaves, and he like realizes that like it's now or never, so he chases after her, and he professes his love to her. Like, he's still very awkward, but it's really sweet. Like, he like pours his heart out to her, and she's like, that's cute. See you at the wedding. And then she like leaves, and you're like, man, bam. So of course he's heartbroken, and or whatever. So he's like down in the dumps, and he's like, well, that sucks. At her wedding, like, you're like, oh, maybe she's just marrying him for his money, like maybe because he's rich. Like, at the wedding, she makes up like a wedding speech, and she's like, people may ask why I'm marrying someone 3 times my age, but she's like, but you know, like, I really love him and all that kind of stuff. And you're like, okay, so like, where I thought this movie was gonna be like, she ends up realizing that she's being stupid, and she like falls in love with Hugh Grant's character and all that stuff. But no, it looks like she's not gonna change, but Hugh Grant is changing. He's getting better. Like, this is good, so he can find true love, right? And then Fiona, who I talked about earlier, who's like part of his friend group, ends up that night confessing her love to him. Like, she's like, listen, like, Charles, like, you know, like, I've had a crush on you for a while, and I've been too scared to say anything, but what the heck, like, it's not whatever. And then okay, sorry, somebody came out, I mean my brother, he's sick, so I'm staying home from church with him today, which is why I'm here ranting. What was I gonna say? Yeah, so Fiona professes her love to him, and like, in the plot summary, it's all like, oh, he doesn't reciprocate those feelings, blah, blah, blah. But, like, I genuinely, like, I shipped them, like, because, like, there was no chance of him being with Carrie, and, like, normally I'm all like, oh, true love will win, but she has had no character development, so there's no reason for us to like her. There's no reason for us to ship her with him. Like, it's obviously a lost cause that he's still in love with her, because she's never gonna love him the same way, and he needs to, like, move on, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, have you ever had a crush on someone, you know, and it's just, like, pointless, and you're like, you know what? This person is not good, right for me. I need to stop having a crush on them because it's just gonna hurt me. So you, like, have to stop having a crush on them, and it's kind of like you broke up, but, like, they had no clue any of this was going on. You know what I'm saying? He needed to stop and move on. So I was like, oh my gosh, this is perfect. And you're like, Fiona's professing his love to her, like, her love to him, blah, blah, blah. But he just kind of, like, doesn't say anything, because then their friend, the fat guy who's, like, partners with this Matthew guy, who I don't remember his name, and I feel really bad, he has a heart attack and dies, like, right in the middle of the wedding or whatever. And you're like, oh my gosh, that's the funeral. And, like, it's very sad, and, like, it's like everyone cries, and it's like, oh my gosh, and it's like dramatic. So he didn't really have time to address this whole love thing. So then it cuts to the funeral, and really sad. Everyone cries. Carrie's there with her new husband. Everyone's, like, crying and stuff, and Fiona's there with Hugh Grant, and, you know, like, he gives her a hug or whatever. You're like, oh my gosh, like, are they gonna, like, be together? No. No. He rejected her. He does not love her. So anyway, and then it, like, fast forwards, like, 10 months later. So, like, he has this realization that, like, you know what, like, marriage is a good thing, and true love is a good thing, and, you know, like, all that kind of stuff, because he had been in this whole attitude. So, like, he had growth, he had development, he had changed into a better person. So you're just rooting for him this whole time, right? So then it cuts forward, and you see a wedding invitation, right? And you're like, oh my gosh, and it says Charles and then there's a flower covering the name, and you're like, ah! And then he wakes up in bed with this guy, and you're like, ah! But they're not actually married. They were just, like, sleeping in the same bed. Like, what the heck? Anyways, let me tell you, that gave my heart a stutter. I was like, he was gay the whole time. No, he wasn't. Sadly, no. Anyways, I swear, like, me and my mom's friend, we're just like, ah. Anyways, no. And they're like, oh my gosh, who's he gonna marry to? Who's he gonna marry to? Turns out he's marrying, like, this girl that he, like, used to date or whatever. He decided to start dating her again, give it a try, and now they're getting married. His friend group doesn't like her, which is why he stopped dating her, because, you know, he loves his friends, and he doesn't want to, like, be forced to break up with them just because, like, the girl he's dating doesn't like them. But turns out, like, he changed his mind, and so the wedding is kind of, like, also their last, like, time that they're actually gonna get to spend together, because his fiance does not like them, so he won't be able to talk to them after the wedding, which you're like, what the heck? Anyway, so he's, like, at the wedding, it's great, he's getting married, and he's, like, welcoming all the guests as they come in, and then, like, right before the bride is supposed to get there, Carrie shows up alone without her husband, and you're just like, drama. And you're like, what the heck? And she's like, oh, by the way, I'm divorced now. And you're like, ma'am, what the heck? And you're like, why didn't you tell him? Why didn't you tell him that you had gotten divorced? Like, why didn't you call him like, I'm divorced now and I realize I'm in love with you? No, you're not really in love with him if you didn't tell him that you were divorced. It's like, don't you come to his wedding alone? Don't you tell him this right before he gets married? And so he's like, oh my gosh, the woman that I professed my love to, who got married and said she was in love with this other dude, divorced this other dude because she doesn't love him. And, like, what the heck is he supposed to do now? And he's like, well, I don't really love his future wife that he's marrying, but, like, he just thought that was the right thing to do. And so he's torn, and he's like, what the heck? So he's like in his room with his brother and his friends, and he's like, what the heck am I supposed to do? And they're like, listen to your heart, blah blah blah, like, what do you think? And he's like, oh, what do I do? And it's like, well, you can, like, you know, leave your wife at the altar, which is a horrible thing to do, get married but not really love your wife. Like, it's a lose-lose situation, you know what I'm saying? So he gets married, whatever, like, he's at the altar, and the, like, priest is like, speak now or forever hold your peace. Boom, his brother speaks and is like, you shouldn't marry this woman because you're in love with someone else. I mean, I'm still serving him and Fiona, you know what I'm saying? Like, she seems like the one for him, given the circumstances. Like, this girl isn't gonna work because she didn't fit in with the friend group, and she's not even a great person. You don't even get to know her character. Like, you don't know her at all. Like, during the movie, like, what the heck are we doing here? And then, yeah, so he leaves her, and he's at home, like, he goes back to, like, the house or whatever, and he's, like, you know, with all his friends, and he's just, like, what have I done? What have I done? What have I done? And his brother's like, I'm so sorry. Like, you know, like, his brother stopped the wedding. He's like, but like, you know, you were about to marry a woman that you didn't love. You know, like, I was like, why were you gonna marry a woman you didn't love? Anyway, and then Carrie shows up and she's all wet because it's raining. And you're like, oh my gosh, a scene in the rain, which normally is a good thing, but not with Carrie. I'm like, not with Carrie. She's still the same person. And then, like, he professes his love to her again. And it's like, I want to spend the rest of my life with you, but, you know, I know you maybe not want to get married or whatever. So he's like, will you not marry me? I don't understand why he said this. Like, his whole character growth. Like, what the heck? And she's like, yes. That's it. She doesn't even say that she loves him back. She wasn't even like, oh, you know, Charles, I've loved you since the moment I met you, and I've just been too scared to admit it. No. She did not love him. She friend-zoned him hard. She just slept with him a couple times and then friend-zoned him. And now he's professing to love to her again, and she's just like, okay, guess I don't have any other options. I'll go with you. Ma'am, I mean, she doesn't actually say that, but that's kind of what it seems like in the movie. And it's very frustrating. And you're like, what the heck are we doing? So yeah, so that's how the movie ends. And then it's like really cute. You know, all of his friends get happily ever after too. Beyonce marrying Prince Charles. Like, what the heck? Anyway, so like, what? Like, this movie has, like, yeah. I just have a big problem with the Carrie character. Like, like, good movie, but didn't like it. Anyways, I guess that's it. I guess I'm done talking. I'm gonna see if I can put these two videos together. I have no idea how I can do that, so we'll see. If it looks really bad, I'm sorry. Also, I know it's just me talking. It's really boring because I talk for like 20 minutes, but the people want what the people want. So yeah, I don't know what I'm doing, so let me know in the comments. I had to be that person. Comment down below. But seriously, like, you know, like, tell me what I'm doing wrong so I can fix it. You know what I mean? Because I don't know what I'm doing. But yeah, I don't know. I don't have a catchphrase, so I guess that's it. Bye.